What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I have a very cool guest, zooming in all the way from Portugal. Please welcome Helen Müller. She is an entrepreneur coach and DNA upgrade specialist. Helen, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you introduce yourself and to the audience a little bit about your background?
Thank you, Deanna. Yeah, so I am a DNAUpgrade specialist and coach to top entrepreneurs, as you said. And my entrepreneurial journey started when I was about 9, 10. And I started selling cookies on my parents' farm in South Africa because I'm originally from South Africa.
Wow, okay.
And then, so I'll tell the audience a little bit about my story and how I came to this point of now being a DNAUpgrade specialist and working with entrepreneurs. So when I was 16, I asked myself, what do I want? And the answer was, I want to be happy.
Yeah.
And I kind of like reverse engineered my life. And, I looked like, okay, so what do people want at the end? And it was like, they want to be happy, they want to be fulfilled, like that kind of epiphany moment at the end of life. And I thought, well, if I find that answer first, before I go out and do anything else, then I kind of set myself up in a different way.
Sure.
And I also thought, there must be some solution to be happy like all the time. Yes. That's what I really wanted. That's what I wanted for myself. And then I went on this long quest, like a 10-year quest to find the answer to happiness. And and then started my business, You, Me and Happiness. But I became aware of a lot of like mental blocks I had. And I kind of had a lot of like problems at the time that I became aware of when I found the answer to happiness. It was like proverbial shells, or scales fell from my eyes. And I then started working with natural biohacks to kind of advance myself quickly and to get over all these blocks. And in my eyes, I thought, I kind of had a late starting my business.
Okay.
At that time, because I invested all this time just traveling the world and trying to find this answer and just being completely like laser focused on that. And then I started working with all these natural biohacks to kind of just speed things up. So I'm kind of, my two areas of expertise is fulfillment and super efficiency. And I work with entrepreneurs on that.
I find that very fascinating. So before we start recording, I'm definitely in health and fitness. I'm a bodybuilder. I really believe in a lot of like that. That's very good for just your mental clarity and just to be more efficient. So why don't you talk a little bit more about this biohacks? Because I just am fascinated by that.
Yeah, so it's my definition of natural biohacks. If you like Google biohacks, there's a lot of controversy around it. So there's a lot of products on the market that they call biohacks, like with caffeine or with butter or some like strange things. I don't even know everything. But also like, for super efficiency and having a better like system, running system. But my definition of natural biohack is like bio, meaning your body.
Yes.
So you're just using your body as a tool, and then hack is the efficiency part.
Right.
So how can you use your body to live the most efficient life? And the natural biohacks that I work with is neurofeedback, emotional freedom techniques, tapping, and fasting, and then this DNAUpgrade, which is like my latest biohack, and it's all for like efficiency. There's like things that work faster.
Sure. And so let's just pick one and let's talk about the benefits on like a specific. So fasting is probably the one thing that most people would know about. I mean, the tapping I never heard of. I don't know what that is. But when someone goes ahead and says they commit to doing a biohack and then, like, let's say fasting, what are the benefits and how does that help them improve their life and their efficiency?
I think first it's almost like a mindset thing, because we are trained to go outside to look for things to help us.
Right.
Everything. We look for love outside. We look for, products that we take, everything to be better. And when it comes to fasting, for example, here again, you take, it's almost like you're not using anything. You like, you're eliminating things.
Right.
So I actually did a breatharian initiation about 2 years ago in Spain. I don't know if you've heard of like that. Some people call it pranic living or breatharianism. So I taught my body to live without food and water. So I went like 4.5 days without any water and about like 7 days without any food.
Wow.
And Yeah, it was pretty intense, but I really wanted to do it because I don't have a lot of fear, and I like to push myself, like and I didn't do a lot of research because my mind's like a sponge. And I knew if I put too much in my mind, like about this process, your kidneys are going to fail and all this, I was just like open. I was like, I want to do it. I want to see and prove that I can do this intuitively. And then I kind of taught my body to, to go through this process. And the benefits are just amazing. Like it just raises your awareness. You become aware of new kind of gifts, kind of like some people become artists, when they go into this extreme fasting, or even like, kind of, it improved this DNAUpgrade skill that I have as well, or any intuitive abilities or communication with consciousness and things like that. So I think it's more like a spiritual journey, this extreme type of fasting, than I would say like a health thing. So of course, you're aware of intermittent fasting. I think a lot of people are aware of that, intermittent fasting, but you can kind of push yourself a little bit further, because your body is so intelligent. And when it comes to any of these natural biohacks, it's almost empowering. Like what I'm trying to do is I'm empowering people again to realize that you have the power, you have everything inside you to live the life that you want to live, and to live a very efficient life. Because my big goal is like evolution is very important to me, my own evolution. And of course, the better I am, the better everything is around me, that kind of effect. And that's why I try to utilize what I have and kind of tap into that inner intelligence. So again, like that's the same with the DNAUpgrade, is we've got this DNA code inside us, but most people are not using that. You heard a lot of this, like junk DNA, we only use like 3% of our DNA. So when I do the upgrade, I kind of activate, kind of dormant DNA, and I also like upgrade, because we rewrite our DNA through our life as well, from a very early age, based on our programming, like the first 7 years. So
someone's experienced like a lot of abuse or trauma or something like that, this would probably be very beneficial for them to kind of reset that the DNA, or however you'd want to put it.
It's like a detox as well. So again, coming back to the fasting, to answer you with that, I also do like liver flashes. So I just did a liver flash in the last week, because there's like emotions stored in our organs, and also when it comes to that kind of dry fasting. So dry fasting is when you don't eat or drink anything, and then you kind of can access the water in your cells, because you're made 70% water. So it's kind of like a false belief, thinking that you need so much water. I mean, of course, if you eat a lot, you need to flush out those toxins. So if you do eat and stuff, of course we get toxins from the air and everything. Water is good, but your body's made 70% water. So when you go through that dry fasting period, I accessed the water inside my cells, my organs. They call it the deep water. And in that water, you must have seen this like on documentaries and things, where they say like these emotions are stored within the water molecules. In water change, like, the shapes, you must have seen it like that. It almost look like a snowflake type of thing.
Sure.
Yeah. So when you access that emotion, you can release it. So it's very good for detoxifying of, as you say, trauma.
I love this.
Trauma and things like that. So you kind of work through it. I mean, when I did that process, like on the 4th day, I actually recorded, if anybody wants to go look, it's on my YouTube. It's Yumi and Happiness, Helen Müller. But I recorded the whole process of the fasting of that week, from like the first day not eating. You can even see like how I lose weight, how my mind changes, my voice changes, like literally that progressive like process. And I became so soft, because what happens in that process when you fast is you really let go of your ego. And you just start like seeing things differently. You just realize, and you just become so humbled, and you realize what is important. It's almost like that, like this matrix stuff, like the third dimension stuff. You just see like everything differently. And even now I don't do so much fasting at the moment, because I go through phases, but it's always so obvious when I do the fasting. I'm like, I don't know why I don't do it more often, because it's like that contrast is so big. But yeah, I mean, it's not a necessity to live a good life, but it definitely helps. And it also helps with having more clarity, and you need more sleep because your body uses most of like the energy to digest food.
Right.
So that's why you're always tired after you eat, you want to sleep and stuff. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
you do fasting, when you don't eat so much, you have more energy. So you don't need to sleep that much. And more clarity, and you just feel lighter and more kind. You just feel softer. You're more connected to nature, and yeah, everything's kind of like better.
I love
But
it.
it is, yeah.
That takes incredible discipline. Like I keep thinking to myself, I'd like to fast, but I'm so active, and I have so much muscle. And if I don't eat, like I've trained my body to eat every 2 to 3 hours because I'm a competitor, that if I don't eat, I start feeling really sick. So like I would love to do it. I don't know, but I don't know if I could. I mean, I could, but it would be just really interesting to see what would happen to me. I'd be like,
yeah, you should take it from that perspective and just try. If you really want to do it, you should just try it up to 12 o'clock in the day, in the middle of the day, not to have anything, nothing to drink, nothing to eat, just like that, because that gives your body like the whole night until 12, and it's quite a big, fast as well.
So you mean for like 12 hours or 12 noon?
Say like you go into bed at 10, for example, at night. So then you don't take anything, or you can even stop at 8 or whenever you had your meal, you had your last water or tea or something. And then whatever time you then don't eat, and then go sleep, and then try until midday the next day to not have anything. It's challenging, but depends, because of the morning coffee.
Challenging. Well, I'm going to have to try it, and I'm going to have to let you know how it goes.
Yes.
So I haven't, so far today, so I woke up, my boyfriend was here, he left for work, I got ready. I haven't had anything to eat. I've had maybe a little bit of water. So, I mean, I could try to do it today.
Yeah. I mean, even just if you don't eat and see the difference that you feel, because to only have liquids, like after I did that process, I had 2 months only liquids.
2 months?
No solid food. It's kind of a recommendation after the process. I felt so good. And I remember the first time I was in Spain traveling in Sevilla, and I love sushi. So I was like planning this, after the 2 months, like what is the first thing I'm going to eat, like solid food. And I researched, because I just arrived in this town in Spain, and I researched, like sushi restaurants, and I found this really nice one. I was like, oh, I'm going to go have sushi. And I ordered like kind of a gourmet thing, it was like so beautifully presented and everything. It was just me, and I was there eating. And I can remember, oh my goodness, that first bite, I was like, so hard to swallow and eat. Like it took me hours to eat that like little thing of sushi, but it felt good. Yes. So liquids is always better as well.
After.
Just like in general, if you can have more smoothies or more juices, fresh juices and things like that's already good for your system. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Actually, I think I'm going to connect you with my aunt, and I think you and her would really hit it off. She might be interested in working with you. But why have you chosen to work with top entrepreneurs and leaders? Like where's the connection there with the whole DNA hacked and all the fasting and all that stuff?
Yeah. Well, of course, top entrepreneurs, efficiency is important to them.
Yes.
It's all. So from that perspective, and also because I'm an entrepreneur, I kind of have a loyalty towards entrepreneurs, I feel, because I know how hard it is, like you do,
hard.
It looks like, ooh, but it's a lot of work that goes into it. So I think that loyalty, first of all, and then I kind of thought, what, if I can have an impact, because my vision is to build a world of happiness for all. So I thought, if I can have an effect on the top, then it will trickle down.
Sure.
So it's kind of like how I was thinking. And also I enjoy working with top entrepreneurs, just because they put in the work and it's stimulating as well. So
and you learn.
It's just a choice I made. Yes.
And you learn from each other. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur almost my whole life. I mean, like I said, I was in a corporate job. After my husband passed away, I had to rebuild my life, and I had to get back into. We owned 5 businesses together. So
wow.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur is not easy, but the freedom and just like the empowerment around it is just so huge. I miss it a little bit. Yeah.
You're
Okay, what
getting back into it
only
now.
God knows only God knows what's meant for me. I don't
Yes.
know. We're just gonna keep rolling with it. So, oh, I like this one. What exactly is a DNA upgrade?
Okay. I'm going to first ask you like question.
Okay, sure.
Okay, well, I'll tell it. So it's a 15-minute technique. It builds on the study of epigenetics, and I can remove mental blocks using this technique called DNA upgrade. So I work directly with the DNA. But to explain to it, I'm going to ask you a few questions. So what do you think, when you think about your DNA, what do you think it does? Like, how does that sit in your mind?
I just think it's what I'm comprised of, like what I'm built up, like what makes me me.
Okay. And where do you think it's like a stagnant thing, or do you think it changes?
I think it changes.
You think it changes based on what?
I think maybe not. I don't know. I think I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know how to answer that.
I think that's why I ask you, because I think people think sometimes, it's like almost like the subject DNA is there, but nobody actually thinks about it or what it can do. And like if you think about your behaviors, like say you want to change something about your behaviors or whatever it is, deal with some problems you have or blocks that you have, what do you think is like the source or the core thing that drives that changing in your life?
Well, I don't think. So I've definitely grown. Like I have night and day from who I used to be over the last 5 years. It's been a major journey for me. Ooh, I'm gonna cry. I finally have like been vocal about some of my past and being a human trafficking survivor. And I feel like once you allow yourself to accept and forgive yourself to get past some of those things that were holding you back, it changes you. But I mean, maybe I'm thinking it just changes you like from an emotional, spiritual standpoint and not necessarily like a physical. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I see what you mean. So you kind of connect DNA just with like your physical structure.
Yes, that's exactly
Yes.
right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. So I'm gonna like build. And have you heard of the study of epigenetics?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. So yeah, it's good to kind of get an idea, and then I can explain to you better from where you are. So the thing is, like before epigenetics became a valid science in the beginning of the 1990s. And before that, people believed, and still to this day, people believe that our genes control our biology, almost like what you said now.
Right.
But epigenetics is a valid science now since the 1990s, and Dr. Bruce Lipton is kind of the scientist that, or the biologist that came up with this epigenetics. And he says that genes do not control biology, perception controls genes. So what happens, so I'm going to explain to you how it works. So what happens is we get like these signals, electrical signals coming from the outside, like all the time, things that happen in your environment.
Yeah.
And we pick it up with our senses, through the eyes, through seeing, whatever. And then it's like how you perceive it, but then you interpret it through your programming.
Sure.
And your programming you form from age 1 to 7, pretty much like your master program. So you interpret this, whatever you are perceiving, and then these signals get then translated through the central nervous system, so through the brain, central nervous system, get released, these hormones or chemicals gets released into the bloodstream, and this is then what interacts with the DNA. And then these DNA make the building blocks, like the proteins to then make you have behavior or change your body or heal you or whatever. If you can see like how the process flows like that.
Yeah.
So why a lot of people struggle with mindset training and things like this is because you get these signals or you get these positive thoughts or whatever, like that, but then you still interpret it through that filter.
Right. Yeah.
And still, it doesn't matter, like if the chemicals go and the process within the DNA continues. And that's why most people stay stuck, and have these blocks for years and years and years, and they can't understand why. It's because of that kind of process. If you think about it, like a simple example, I always say, like, I'll give you 2 examples. So when you were like a baby, you were in your mother's womb, we could all swim like dolphins.
Right.
in the water. They were very comfortable. Then you come out into the world, and like the first messages you get is like, water is bad for you. Like, don't get near the water. Or you're in the bath and it's screaming or whatever. And then then they want you to learn how to swim. So they put you in a pool, and now you're like confused and you want to hold on to your mother screaming because now you want to put me in water again. Your mom's like, oh, swim, you're like in the water like this. It's because your genetic code has already been rewritten in that process from, coming out of the womb, because that's like the first moments.
Right.
That's like one simple example. And another thing is like, I always have this example of, say like you're scared of a snake. I'm not scared of a snake.
Okay.
So the snake comes and you are like, we're both seeing the same snake.
Right.
But you're perceiving it like in this way, and you're releasing these chemicals that then interacts with the DNA, and you like have this fearful response, right. Or you want, like, I don't know, sweat or whatever. And I'm just like, whatever, like nothing. So it's like that thing. So you see how important that environment is.
It's like a domino effect.
Yes. So the DNA upgrade, what I do is I kind of bypass that programming, and I directly send information from consciousness, from your, like the main source, the pure source, before all this programming started in your life, before all these things. I bypass that and I send information directly from there to the DNA, which then kind of like, what's the word, kind of like expose the DNA that's going to make you behave in a way that is better, removing the block, making you see it as you should see it, not as, with the veil over the eyes. Like, it just kind of exposes that DNA.
Yeah.
And then makes those proteins that will give you the body that you want and give you the behavior that you ultimately want.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I think I might need to hire you. I mean, I am blown away. This is such a great conversation. Before we wrap things up, what can clients expect from your 3-month coaching program? Because everybody's different, right? Everybody's different based upon what their blocks are. You're going to, I would assume that you'd put if I was your client, what you're going to do with me is going to be completely different with the next person.
Yes, of course. But the process stays the same. And when I put you in touch with that consciousness, with your higher consciousness, it's such a personal process. And the thing is, most people have never met themselves in that way,
Yeah.
So I facilitate this meeting, and that's kind of where the beautiful thing happens. So that kind of like is part of the coaching. It's like on the background, we keep removing these blocks, but it's not just about removing the blocks. When you remove the blocks, you need to kind of have that supportive environment. You need to kind of build this new supportive environment that can support these new patterns that you're now living, because people start thinking differently, you start acting differently, but now you need to can't like now have the same type of things going on the same way.
Sure.
You need to make this new life. So then the coaching part with the 3 months is I also work on fulfillment, because I believe it's the basis. It's where my business started with this happiness thing. And fulfillment, you have to be fulfilled in your life. Of course, you have to be fulfilled. And then once you feel fulfilled, then happiness, my definition of happiness is knowing who and what you are and living from that knowing. It's our natural state.
Yeah.
So once you have that knowing of who and what you are, it's like, okay, I've got peace now. I'm free now. I understand who I am and what I am. And now I want to evolve in the most efficient way.
Yeah.
So I can live a happy life and a good life, make money and let go of all these trauma and limiting beliefs and emotional, not being able to control my emotions and all these things. So then I help with all these different biohacks and tools and kind of make like a very efficient, simple kind of plan and map for you to just live this amazing life. And I like to keep things simple, and I don't like to talk too much about problems and, kind of that psychology way. I just kind of like fix the thing, and be happy and enjoy your life.
That's great. On that note, Helen, why don't you let people know, the audience know, where they can reach out to you if they're interested in just getting a consultation, or, just wanting to learn a little bit more about what you can do for them.
Yes. Okay. My website is youmeandhappiness.com. It's all written out, youmeandhappiness.com. And there's a free training there as well, explaining these DNA upgrades more in detail, with graphics, and if you're into computer stuff and into games, it kind of explains it from that, perspective of the analogy of the computer and stuff. It's interesting. So if people want to go and have a look, and you can also connect with me through there. And then my handle on social media is @YouMeAndHappiness on Instagram, and on Facebook is You, Me and Happiness as well, my Facebook page, and my YouTube, You, Me and Happiness, Helen Müller, Helen with one L, Müller with MULLER. And yeah, on LinkedIn, I am on LinkedIn as well. You, Me and Happiness is my handle. So everywhere it's You, Me and Happiness, Helen Müller.
I will put all the links in the bio. Yeah. Is there any last words that you'd like to leave with the audience before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I always get asked this, and I always say the same thing. I never like prepare a message before. I always go like on the spur what I want to say. I think in this time, I kind of want to connect it with what's going on in the world right now.
Sure.
I think people should just be kind to themselves. You know, everybody should be kind to themselves and just trust and know that nothing has gone wrong. You know, you need to trust this process. I believe it's a very opportune time for humanity's development, for everybody's individual development, and even, you know, if you have to do social distancing or you have to change your lifestyle and all these things right now, just whatever way you can find to see the positive in it.
Sure.
Like even if you have to write down every day positive things, record it, listen to it, just make sure you like just twist this whole negative thing, if you see it as negative, on the positive side, and you'll be fine. And we really create our own realities, even in the situation, even if it looks like, you know, you don't have control, but you do have control. And,
right.
I think it's important that everybody remembers that you are powerful, and you know you can access these powers within you, and you have the tools, and we are free sovereign human beings, and we need to embrace that freedom and that power.
Boom. You are awesome. Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much for being a guest. I'm looking forward to releasing.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh gosh. I think we could probably talk for hours. I'm just fascinated by it. So maybe we'll have to have a part 2.
Yes, we can. You're so lovely.
All right, guys. This is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I will be back very soon with more dynamic guests.